welcome back to the space, and of course welcome back to the channel. So here's my black Limba body, this beautiful thing I got from Toby on eBay. I'm going to put his seller information, because he's got a telly body and then I believe a single cutaway, or maybe a double cutaway, I forgot, guitar that's completed for a really good price. Has some amazing stuff on it. So check him out, because this is outstanding. It really is. I'm just so pleased. Okay, so sanding. And this would be, I guess what we would consider to be called finish sanding, because this was sanded to 100 grit. I've got some 120 here, and what I was going to do is just get started by taking my little wood block. This comes from a Haba Marble Run toy set out of Germany. My kid had it, and has all these excellent straight edges on them. So that's my straight edge, and then that'll be actually not my straight edge, but my sanding block. So now I'm going to take the sandpaper. This is 120, and I just sort of put it around the block like this, just so I know that I've got enough paper, to know, okay, about right there. If I cut there, I'll have enough paper to wrap around and be able to hold on to it, with my hand, so it doesn't slide about as I'm going. And then, while I'm at it with the scissors here, that's one piece there. While I'm at it with the scissors, I'll make kind of a sort of long piece to go inside of the horns, the cutaway areas, and any other kind of areas like that. I'll go ahead and cut that as well. So now I'm going to take my makeshift sanding block here. So I'll put it in here like this, and now I just kind of hold on to the edges, and I've got a nice flat edge for sanding. So I'm going to take the strap body. Now I got most of my tips for sanding, finish sanding, here on YouTube from a guy, PVK Guitars, I believe, and I'll post a little screenshot of his thing so that you can go over there and check out his entire video. So I'll link it or whatever. Really good video with lots of good instruction, good advice. But his main advice, to kind of sum it up for the purposes of getting started on this guitar, is basically always to sand with the grain. So I'm going to kind of figure out which way my grain pattern is going, and once I get aware of that, and it changes, throughout the guitar, especially if it's a 2 or 3 piece body. You'll have different pieces of wood kind of going different ways, and at the angle points, and anytime where they've had to add a piece or whatever, it could be different at that point too. But I'm going to just try to go with the grain, like going this way, and so I'll start with sanding just really lightly. I'll start just going straight up with the grain, and what he was doing is, once you figure out which way your grain is going, and on the main, the main front of the guitar, you want to just go one direction. So it's just one direction, straight up and over. And I don't want to do too much of this in the house. I just wanted to show you what I was going to do. Probably take it outside, put a mask on, go at it a little tougher. But my main philosophy on finish sanding, especially since I'm not going to paint this and I'm not going to fill it, I'm going to basically just coat it in shellac and then do a French polish on it, and done. I'm not going to put any stain on it or any kind of colored finish. I'm going to just put a clear shellac with no amber or anything like that in it, and because I think the wood is just so beautiful, it just seems like it'd be a crime to cover it up or alter it in any way with color. So that's where my head is at with this thing. But anyway, you see what I'm doing here. I'm just going to go straight up with the grain, and I just go really slow and carefully. I'm never in a hurry with this. See, it's like, this is called finish sanding. You're at the finish stage. You're at the finish line. You don't have to be in a hurry, And the other thing you have to be aware of, let me just kind of show you what I do with the back now. Same idea. I'm going to take it over, and obviously you could go a lot harder and faster than this. But I like, and this is only on the flat spots. I'm not going into any of the contour area yet. Just staying on the flat area with this type of sanding situation. And I'm going to just go all the way across the guitar. Now, one of the things he mentioned, and thank God I saw his instructional video before I built this Flying V, because otherwise the whole thing would be like the V2 where it's rounded all the way around. It has like kind of a soft edge, and that's cool if that's the design and you're kind of planning for that. You know, you could make arguments about whether that design looks good or not, but if it's part of the design, that's one thing. This is supposed to have clean, sharp edges, right? You know, so luckily I saw his video. He shows you how to maintain that. I'll show you in a second. With the Strat, it's different because the Strat is kind of shaped like a, you know, a sexy car from the 50s and 60s. It has like that kind of contour thing, and it's kind of molded. It was really a radical design when it first came out. It really was. The body blew minds. Hank Marvin played this guitar in England. He's known for playing the red Strat with shadows. And he became famous. People like Paul McCartney and people like that watched him on television, or, you know, he was in England. And then also Buddy Holly had a Strat. And they described the guitar as being like otherworldly. You know, it's like the shape was so unusual, the way it was contoured, the way it was rounded, you know, instead of having these sharp corners. So that's kind of like something I've learned recently. So anyway, I'm going to go continue to do this, and I'm staying away from the edges. And there's not much of this kind of space here to sand that's flat, that doesn't have a contour. It's like basically here, you know, like this space here, right in here, and then right up in here. And I'm staying away from the edges all the way around. And we'll get to that. And same thing on this side. So that's what I'm going to do with 120. Then I'm going to follow it up with 220, then go to 320. After the three, and maybe up to 400. I've got all the paper all the way up to 400. Now, the other type of sanding, this is what I wanted to point out if you're doing a sharp-edged guitar, like the PRS, the way the top looks, or like any kind of like maple cap like this, you know, where you've got an angle, you know, where you're trying to keep this, like, this is an angle here that you want to maintain. You don't want this to round, you know, that wouldn't look good. Here it's a different story, but if you have a guitar like that, this particular tip that I picked up is amazing. So let me show you what he does here. You take this little piece, this strip like this, right? And let's say you're sanding the guitar, and you've got one of these types of guitars, and you're on the top. You know, you've got like a maple cap. It's like a Les Paul custom type thing, maybe a PRS type build. You know, I don't know, but those types of guitars, they have the laminate top of some kind, or just a tight edge that you don't want to mess up. Like this doesn't have a top, but it has a, you know, it has a structure. I didn't want to mess up that structure because when you see it at an angle, it's really striking, you know. And when I looked at other Flying V's, I was like, oh, I got to make sure I keep those edges tight. So here's how I did it. You take the strip of sandpaper, and I'm going to just go kind of off this front horn to show you. So I don't want to go over the horn. Yeah, right? I want to sand this space here. I want to fine sand it in this little space, but I don't want to sand over. So I'm going to put my finger kind of like on the paper, like this, right in front of the spot where I don't want it to go over, kind of like that. And I'm just going to run it through lightly, keeping it and like picking up on the paper as I run it through the finger. So it's like, and you can just kind of go along with the grain. With the grain. Beautiful. And that way you maintain this edge. Now, with this Stratocaster design, there's more of a kind of rounded effect. And like when I look at this Strat here, I can see how they kind of like round sanded it, you know, by hand. I mean, not by hand, but by machine. And that would be kind of a finishing touch that Leo would have done back in the days. The guys would have done this kind of hand sanding type stuff. But I want to create that. I want to continue to accent that rounding kind of smoothing edge that you get from a Strat. It kind of gives it like a little 3D quality, you know, gives it like a stagger instead of just being a real tight cut like a butcher block. Or like a telly, you know. So I'm going to really work hard on this space here. But you see how this works. Same thing on the sides. So say here we are like right here. Okay. So I'm going to find the grain pattern. It feels like it's going this way. So once again, I'm going to take this here, and I'm going to make sure, if I'm trying to maintain an edge, I'm going to make sure that I don't sand. I'm going to sand up with the grain. Just kind of work my way up the side. I mean, this is all extra stuff that you can do to make your kit guitar your Partscaster, you know, give it that little extra something. Get the wood a really nice finish sanding job does wonders. You know, it really makes a huge difference. And if you're going to grain fill it, you want to get it in the best state you can, so that all the pores are open, all the little holes have been exposed. You fill it, do your final sanding, and then hit it with spray. Here, I kind of want to leave all the little imperfections. He actually filled a couple little wormholes that were in there, and I'm going to darken those spots just to make them blend. Or I'll probably end up just leaving it the way it is, because he used some kind of filler that sort of matches the sort of lighter shade of the Carina. And it's just a tiny little dot. It kind of gives it character. I'm going to just leave it. It'll darken with the shellac, just because it'll kind of look wet. And the other little thing that you want to do is, like right here, I do want to maintain these edges here. I don't want this to look rounded off. I like this, so it's really tight here, this trim cavity. So I would do the same thing here. Oof, going the wrong way. So you want to maintain that direction, you know, with the grain. So I'm and you know, I do a lot of just like, I'll take the paper, you know, and just do a lot of sculpting, making sure I'm going with the grain. Just lovingly helping form and shape. I mean, the shaping's done, but just fine-tuning and just making it beautiful at the end. So this is 120. I'm going to go to 220. I'm going to go to 320. I'm going to go to 400. And then I'll probably lift the grain once with some denatured alcohol. And then, because I'm going to make this the final you know what I'll do? I'm going to follow his whole thing. I'm going to go all the way to 400 or so, and then I'm going to get some of those sponges. It's like 600 on one side, 1,000 on the other. Just kind of go over it. Then get all the dust and everything off. Some steel wool, like quadruple zero, maybe triple zero. He used a Scotch-Brite pad. Might use a Scotch-Brite pad. An old, really like old towel, something that has some grit to it. Kind of just wipe it down, rub it down. Then lift the grain with denatured alcohol, and then take another rough cloth. And I think maybe you can use Scotch-Brite, maybe the milder version, to go across the grain and kind of get all the raised hairs that come up. The wood, then just all the bits and pieces lift. And you definitely want to do that step, and then do kind of like a smoothing steel wool step after that, before you put any kind of finish or stain or shellac, or, you know, whatever, varnish, you know, clear gloss, urethane, what do you call it, true oil, tung oil, any of the oils. You know, you want to definitely do that, because whatever you trap under here, that's what's going to be trapped under here. So that's my my path for sanding. And I just want to take another moment to look at this beauty. It is just the real deal. And I've got it narrowed down to a Warmoth neck or a fender neck to finish it. I really think it needs like an exotic pop. And I'll do another little quick episode where I show what I'm planning on doing, what I'm kind of the decision I'm making on the neck. And then we'll get into hardware and whatever else. But the main thing that's important to me is the body wood and the neck wood. Those are the two most important things. After that, the fretboard wood, if it's not the same as the neck wood, is important to me. And then the nut. And then our bridge and trim system have to be a good working system. So I want a vintage type system, but I want a really good one that has like more, you know, updated like thought process to it. Because Leo, you know, he didn't stop innovating, he didn't stop designing. He was never like, oh, this one's good enough, this one's always worked well, you know, this is what everybody wants. He never thought that way. He thought like, let's innovate, let's push forward, let's better this. And whenever he would come up with a new design, he considered the old design and the old guitar obsolete, until he finally realized that people liked them because they had different characteristics that, you know, still made them useful to them, whether he thought the next design was better or not. So cool. Sanding. That's what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the night. And I know a lot of people say I hate sanding, but to me this is like a beautiful part of a beautiful, process. It's a beautiful step that I like taking. I'm just gonna savor every moment of it. It's fun. This thing is so beautiful. It's it's already a part of the family and all that. So it's met everyone. I have 4 kids, my wife, and I have other people living here too. Big clan, and they've all been introduced, and everyone's on good terms. So it's good news. All right. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. See you next time. So I already feel like a major bond with this thing. I really do. It's like when I saw it, I had to have it, and as soon as I saw it, like in the box, I was just like, yes, this was the right decision. I had looked at a Warmoth body that was very similar. It was about $120 more total, and it was beautiful. It was perfect, incredible. And I think I want to get a neck from them, but this one was just so beautiful, and the guy was so cool, Toby. Just dealing with him it reminded me of the old days, and it reminded me of some of the hi-fi community I met, where people just make friends, and it's all about like sharing and learning. It has less of that transactional feel, and I don't know. It had love attached to it, so I dig that. So anyway, thanks again for watching. This is going to come along beautifully. I'm so stoked. Anyway, thank you again.